Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to my first video on this channel. My name's Pri and I'm bringing you some F122 league racing content on this league called IRC, otherwise known as Indian Racing Community. And this is round 1 of season 10 of this league. And as you can see, we're about to head out for our first qualifying lap of the season and of this channel, as we put the fuel mix to lean and our ERS to none. But you know, quite excited for this league. There's a lot of fast guys who are just as fast, if not faster than me. And you know, we're in for I'd say quite a good season. This is the first season that IRC is doing with crossplay. So I've not raced against a lot of these guys. Actually, all 19 of these guys in an actual league race. I've done a lot of social races with them, but you know, nothing serious against them, always just for fun. So that's quite nice. And one thing to note is that I am on a controller and a lot of these other guys in tier 1 are on a wheel, so there's that. Obviously Bahrain is known to be a circuit which is quite strong for controller players, but throughout the season you'll see the advantage swing a little bit between the controller and the wheel players. And yeah, you know, quite exciting stuff, definitely. And as you can see, just warming our tires a little bit. My original plan was to overtake the car ahead of me, but in the end I was just like, there's no way I'll do that without wearing my tires out a bit too much. So I just decided to back off a little bit, just quite early on, so that the car behind me can also have time to react and back off safely and create enough of a gap so that I don't affect him and the car ahead of me doesn't affect me in terms of dirty air or whatever. And as you can see, just backing up a little bit, and here Extreme kind of goes to overtake me, but then apparently he disconnects, so I guess it was a desync, and I kind of freaked out over there, so I ended up accidentally opening my radio thing. And I don't know if you caught that, but I opened my ERS. I turned on my ERS like after I crossed the start finish line, which wasn't ideal, and that definitely threw me off massively. And I obviously, my exit to the last 2 corners was compromised heavily, but anyway, it is what it is. Turn 1 wasn't very ideal. I moved a little bit under the brakes, and turn 4 as well. I was hesitating a little bit to turn in, which usually means I've either overslowed the car down or I just turned in too early. The SS section also slightly wide at both the right and the left, but that hairpin was quite nice. Now just braking for turn 9 and turn 10, a little bit under the limit, but I hit the apex quite nicely, using a little bit of the curb on the exit, just to straight line the exit as much as I can. And the current lap is a 28.4, as we use the track on the entry, not using all the track on the exit, but enough to go. Anyway, the blind right-hander, as you said, a 6.6 for the second sector split, and I'm just taking a little bit safe for the first qualifying lap, just because I don't want to invalidate it, and in case so I can push my next 2 qualifying laps a little bit more on the limit, so that in case I do invalidate both of them, I have some kind of a lap to fall back on, just in case. As we cross the line, we set a 28.476, which is only 0.003 of a second slower than the provisional pole time at the moment, which is a 28.473, as I said earlier. And I wasn't particularly happy with the lap. I made a couple mistakes, as you saw, particularly in sector 1, just in the beginning of the lap, actually. You know, sector 1, turn 4, and the SS section, just a little bit too wide, but otherwise it felt like a decent lap. Obviously, as I said, under the limit, nothing too special. Anyway, as you can see, we're about to start our second flying lap of the session, and we get a much better exit, and we turn our ERS on much earlier this time. And you know, good for us. We're already like about half a tenth up, which is a lot of time. And braking for turn 1, a little bit wide, not hitting the apex exactly, but the exit was quite nice. Ooh, a little bit slide out of turn 2, which wasn't ideal, and we've lost that half a tenth that we were gaining before turn 1. Turn 4, taking it quite nicely, I'd say. That was very nicely taken. And the SS section, much better than the first lap. Now braking for the hairpin, not using a lot of track on the entry, but nonetheless getting good exits still. And now braking for this turn 9, turn 10. Tricky braking zone. Stay away from the curb in the right hand side. Straight line the exit as much as you can. Not particularly the best, but we're already 3.5 tenths up, which is just a very good improvement, as I think Helium set a 28.1, I think, I'm not entirely sure, but a flat out right-hander blind, and with 2.7 tenths up on Tunish in second place, and up on our own time, we're up by 4.7 tenths almost. The final corner, always a little tricky, getting the right turning point, but we get that quite nicely. Not using a lot of track on the exit still, but nonetheless, across the line, opening DRS, we actually lose a little bit of time to the final corner, but we set a 28 flat, which is certainly an improvement, a big improvement from our first lap, but a couple tenths away from my PB while practicing around here. So there's that, but I was quite happy with the second lap, a lot more than the first one, which, you know, good for us. I don't know what more to say about that. But now, as we're about to start our final lap of the session, Moto ended up setting, I think, a low 27.7, which is an incredibly fast time. I think it was like a tenth faster than my PB, which is a 27.8. So we're gonna try our best to beat that. Now, starting our final lap, and 200s down, but that's not very accurate right at start. I'm not entirely sure where this car ahead of me came from, because when I started my lap, or just before I was about to start my lap, it looked like I had a very good gap. But anyway, after my turn 2 slide on the last lap, I'm a tenth up on the to the first sector, a little bit wide through turn 4. But this car ahead, I don't know if it's giving me any dirty air, but it certainly felt like it. It might have just been psychological. But the S's were quite nice, and the car ahead of me here spins, and I can't open up the corner as much as I'd really want to, just in case a car would unghost or something. So a little bit of time left on the table there, but nonetheless, I am 1.7 tenths up. Now braking for this, as I said, tricky zone, and lost a little bit of time on the exit there, but nonetheless 1.5 tenths up still. But we need to find a little 1.5 tenths more, I'd say, to challenge for the pole position. And now that was a good line to that corner, and to this blind right-hander as well, as we set a purple sector 2, which I'm not entirely sure how, because we were a tenth up on Moto to the first sector and 300s up to the second sector, meaning we lost 700s, but whatever. 2 tenths up overall, and to the final corner, we used a little bit more of the track and 2 tenths up, but I don't think that's going to be enough for pole position, as we set at 27.783, which I was quite happy with, as it's only 6.5 hundredths down on the pole time, and it is a PB that I set in a league racing qualifying session, so I'm a little bit disappointed, but it is a 27.7, which is front row nonetheless, as Helium goes only P5 with a 27.9. Yeah, in the end, quite a good qualifying session, I'd say. We were one of the last ones to complete a lap, just because I wanted as best of a track as I could get, and yeah, 27, only 6.5 hundredths behind Moto. Quite good, and I think ST is a further 8 hundredths behind me. But anyway, as you can see, Moto got pole by 6.5 hundredths, and then I'm P2. ST a further about 8 hundredths behind, with there being a further 700 hundredths behind, and Helium half a tenth behind them. So the top 5 covered in just 2.5 tenths, with Tanish also being quite close to us. So 3.5 tenths covers the top 6. As you can see, it's quite a close grid, and yeah, I was really looking forward to the race at this point, and let's see what we can do. Now we're here on the grid with 10 seconds to go, and I wasn't exactly sure whether I wanted to start on the hards or the mediums. In the end, I decided to go for the mediums, which I wasn't entirely sure, and turns out a lot of the people throughout the grid were starting on the hards. So anyway, 5 red lights, and away we go for the first round of Season 10 in IRC. We get a much better start than Moto in the second phase, and already alongside and ahead of him braking for turn 1. Just trying to hit the apex a little bit wide, but we give him the space on the exit, and turn 2 we turns to straight, we take the racing line, and we're already into the lead of the race with Aradia challenging Moto for P2. I mean, he's on the mediums just as me, and now is my moment while Aradia is stuck behind Moto to try and pull away from the gap, because right now I'm the mediums, meaning that I'm gonna have a lot more pace than the cars that are on the hards, and we're trying to pull as much of a gap as we can. We're pushing the tires a little bit, not using a lot of the ERS, just because the ERS regen on this circuit is quite horrendous 100%, because it's just, yeah, it's not ideal. We got a very good exit out of that corner compared to Moto, and we're already 1.1 seconds clear. We've pulled out of the DRS, and now we're just gonna try and extend the gap as much as we can. My aim here was to get once Arate overtakes Moto, was to get him in my DRS. Obviously I don't slow down, but I was kind of expecting that he'd push with his ERS, but that's a later problem. For now, we are in the lead of the race by around 1.3 seconds. And as we cross the line, we're about to set, I think it's a 36 or 35.5, but that's irrelevant for the first couple laps, just because, you know, field is a little bit bunched up. But now I'm out in clear air. I go a little bit wide to turn 1, getting used to the heavy fuel compared to qualifying. Obviously 29 laps of fuel feels very different to just 2 laps of fuel. Which, yeah, as you can see, the Aradia finally got past Moto, and now I'm expecting him to push a lot through the next few laps just to get in my DRS. And as you can see here, Aradia is gaining a lot on me through the corners, but that's because I'm running very low downforce in comparison to the rest of the field, which you'll see on the straight that I am very fast compared to them. So yeah, right now I'm not pushing a crazy amount to just let Aradia get in my DRS. I was toying with him a little bit. I was using my ERS just a tad, just to force him to use a lot more, so that when he does get in my DRS, he can't exactly challenge me for the lead of the race. So just some mind games being played, nothing too serious though, as he's getting close. He's in the 1.1 seconds gap, but nothing being done so far. As you can see though, over here we are gaining on Aradia despite him having a little bit of a slipstream, and I'm not using any battery. I'm sure he was, and yeah, just across the line we set a 31.8 before Aradia sets a 31.7, as I mentioned, ERS. And there, look at that, we've gained a 10th on the main straight, which is surprising because he's the one who has slipstream, so that's quite exciting stuff. As we now fast forward to lap 7, nothing ended up happening. Aradia got on my DRS, I think lap 5, and we just now we're trying to just pull away together to the hard runners. And the reason why I wanted Aradia on my DRS is because I knew I had a straight advantage, so it would be very difficult for Aradia to challenge me on the straights. But I knew the medium runners, the hard runners, would eventually catch up to us in the second stint, so I wanted Aradia just as a safety net, just one more car that they have to go through, and even he'd have DRS on me. And as you can see, he's not being able to challenge me, even though he's quite close to me on the straights. There's nothing he can really do. Only about 4/10ths back here. Through the corners, he's being able to follow quite closely. And a little bit wide we go through this hairpin. But on the exit here, Aradia ends up having a spin, which it was a little bit annoying because I haven't had many battles with him, and I was kind of hoping I could have something of a battle anyway. And also, as I said, the safety net in the second stint, but it is what it is, and he ended up spinning, and now he's in 5th place, 8.5 seconds back. So that's not ideal for him. We are just gonna continue focusing on our race and see what we can do against the hard runners. As we fast forward to the end of lap 12, and nothing much happened really after Aradia spun. You know, we just ended up pulling a little bit our gap more and more. Obviously the mediums were starting to die a little compared to the hards, which is why our gap kind of stalled a little bit from the end of lap 7 to lap 12, starting lap 13 now. But now it's when our pit window is open, and I want to pit this lap, so I'm going to obviously push a little bit more just to try and minimize the time loss on the cold hards. So as Aradia already comes into the pits a lap earlier, he's going for I don't really know what, because he's not gonna be undercutting anyone. So I'm not entirely sure why he went into the pits a lap earlier, but it, his choice. He can do what he wants. Just pushing, not using a battery a whole lot, because obviously, as I said, ERS regen here is a nightmare. We use a bit too much of the curve there, which I just overslowed the car. This corner is really tricky on old mediums because of the understeer. As you can see, I just completely, the front completely slides out. I just had no front grip there. And Helium is actually gaining some time on me. He's gaining, he gained about 2/10 from the start of the lap to now, but on the straight, as you can see, I'm pulling away a little bit. And on traction as well, I was just really strong on traction in comparison to a lot of these other guys, primarily because of the setup I was running. It's more of an understeery setup, so it allowed me to get power earlier, but the downside of that is understeer, which is manageable on controller. But anyway, we're boxing now and trying not to speed into the pit lane as we get a nice entry. Not too cautious and not very aggressive that we risk a penalty, and we get an optimal turn-in point, and we're going on to the cold hards now, which it's gonna be a nightmare to warm up. And I've got a very big gap, so I thought I'd just take it a little bit safe on the outlap, just because I'd rather lose a couple seconds than lose 15 seconds spinning. So yeah, in the end I got DRS from the Banat, and which helped me a little bit, but not a whole lot, obviously. Just taking the entries and exits a little bit safe. As you could see, exiting turn 3, I just had so little throttle application, and I actually closed my DRS on that straight unintentionally, and I did not realize that until right now. So that's a little bit of a skill issue from my side, but it is what it is. And now just warming up our tires a little bit more. Banat has already gained like 1.5 seconds on me from exiting the pit lane to now, and he's probably gonna gain on me through a little bit of next lap as I just get my confidence worked up a little bit. And Arathia, as you can see, he's 9.7 seconds back, obviously gaining a little bit back on me now, but I'm not entirely sure his thought process behind pitting that lap earlier, because he's just gonna struggle against some medium runners on that last lap, because obviously his tires are gonna be 1 lap older than they're gonna be a few laps older already than the medium runners, but his are gonna be 1 lap older than mine. And yeah, I don't know what he did. He actually ended up losing half a second to me. I think he pit when he was like 9 seconds behind, and now he's 9.4, and my tires are in a decent window. As you can see, I'm not losing time to the Banat. But anyway, as you can see, Moto comes into the pits quite early for a set of mediums, which didn't really surprise me, because we had a practice race the night before, and he was able to push the mediums a long way without losing a lot of pace. So I kind of expected him to come into the pits at the end of lap 14. At most, I thought maybe lap 15. But yeah, that's why I ended up coming to the pits on lap 13 itself, just so I could be able to warm up my tires. And the Banat gets a really bad snap of oversteer, and I'm right over at the back of him now. Well, not right at the back of him, but I am within DRS. And now is the time that I'm supposed to try and get some of the overtakes done without losing too much time, and without letting Moto catch me or losing a lot of time to him. So I initially used my battery a little bit on the exit because I thought I might try and go for an overtake here, but I was just too far back and there was no point using the battery. So I just decided to sit back and use save my tires and ERS a little bit, just following him before overtaking him on the main straight. And yeah, at the moment, as you can see, Moto already gets past Babaji. And yeah, I hit the curb a little bit too much, which I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, we're 4/10 back on the Banat, and I used a little bit of the battery just to confirm the overtake. But look at the straight line speed. Actually, compared to him, it wasn't as much. Just covering off the inside a little bit, and we go a little bit deep, but he can't really get a switchback because we covered off. Plus, our superior grip in comparison to him. and we are up into I mean, we weren't at P1 even before this, but we're currently up P10 on track, and once all the pit stops are done, we're gonna be P1 again. But Moto is already gained half a second on me, so that doesn't exactly it's not exactly the happiest feeling, but you know, it is what it is, and let's see what we can do now. Now, as we move on to lap 17, end of lap 17, Helium is now in P5 now behind me on new mediums. He's only 5.8 seconds back. As we see on the minimap, a Red Bull has spun, and that is in fact Moto. And out of the final corner, he just has a spin. I don't know what happened, but now one of my main threats is out of the race now. Or not out of the race, sorry, out of contention for the win, unless there's some kind of a safety car or something. But now I am supposed to try and keep Helium back, who has had a mega in lap and out lap, I want to say, because he gained about half a second on me on his hards and on the out lap on the mediums, which is, you know, it's a very good effort, because on the cold mediums it's definitely not easy. Even if it is mediums, nonetheless they're cold, and yeah, whatever, it is what it is. And now we are just supposed to try, and obviously we can't pull away from Helium because he is on the faster strategy and faster tires at the moment. All I can do now is try and maintain my consistency and just try and keep Helium at bay, prevent him from getting in my DRS. Obviously, if he ended up getting in my DRS, as I mentioned earlier, I have a big straight line advantage in comparison to the rest of the field. So there's that. But there, you can see Helium gained almost, I think, a second on me just on this lap alone. And I thought if that's how he's gonna keep it up, then I am screwed for this second stint. But that lap I said was a 30.320, and he sets a 31.0, so an entire second faster. So yeah, as I said, he gained a second on me through that lap, and yeah, I wasn't feeling particularly confident after looking at that lap. Obviously, my lap had some mistakes in it, but nonetheless, I have to keep up my consistency and not make those mistakes if I want to have a chance at winning this race now. I just have to try and get to the next 5-6 laps without making too many mistakes, and his mediums will not die, but they will lose their raw pace that was there at this point in time. As the gap to Helium has maintained a little bit this lap, he might have made a little bit of a mistake, or I think he's just made a little bit of a mistake, because I'm pushing 100%, but I'm not gaining a lot of time in comparison to my last lap, so my guess is he just made a small mistake somewhere. But as you can see, we do set a green sector 2, which is good. We as many green sectors as we can set. The more green sectors we can set, the better. And yeah, there's a car ahead of me here, a Haas, who is yet to pit. I don't know why. I guess he's trying to wait for a safety car. But as we said, a 31.5 on this lap, which is quite a good lap, I'd say, on the hards. And we're supposed to try and just keep this consistency going as long as possible. As we set another 31.5 on the next lap, and the lap after that, and the lap after that, which was incredible for my consistency. As we said, 31.6 the next lap, but then another 31.5. As you can see, we are just being incredibly consistent, as consistent as we possibly can be. And now, as we go into the last 4 laps of this race, Helium has closed the gap down to 2 seconds, and his pace has slowed down a little bit. Obviously, he's still about half a second a lap quicker, I'd say. But at the moment, I've got in quite a good zone, you know, after those consecutive laps within a tenth of each other, all of them. And I just need to try and keep this consistency up for as long as possible. Another green sector 1, which is quite good. But now in sector 2 is where I lose a lot of my time due to the low downforce. But I can't really do anything about it. I'm strong in traction. I'm trying to use that to my advantage as much as I can. And under brakes through that corner, I've also been gaining a lot of time in comparison to Helium. I've just been a lot more consistent through there compared to him, and just now trying to keep my consistency up for just three and a bit more laps, and then the race will be mine, as long as I don't mess up here now. And another green sector 2, so we look like we're on for another PB here, which, you know, when it's mattered, I've had the consistency this race, and it's been really good so far. He only gained about 3/10 on me that lap, which will put him in DRS on the final lap maybe, but I don't know if that's going to be possible or not for him, as we set a 31-2 on the next lap, which, you know, that obviously very good stuff for me. And I need to just not make a mistake and hope Helium makes a couple himself, so that the win can hopefully be mine, unless I decide to just spin around or, you know, do something incredibly stupid. So yeah, anyway, that's a red sector 1. Not obviously marginally down on my personal best, but obviously not as fast, but you know, it is what it is. I'm actually gaining a little bit of time on Helium there. I gained a 10th through him to sector 1 and a little bit through sector 2 actually, so his mediums are starting to die, I guess. And I'm 1.9 seconds out in front now. I'm actually pulling back the 310 gap that I lost in the last lap, and there's an Aston Martin ahead of me, who's actually quite far ahead at this moment, but he comes up a little bit later on, and he kind of ends up distracting me just a tad. He doesn't do anything himself, just you know, the car being so close, being ghosted, it's a little distracting. Obviously he didn't do anything wrong, but it's just kind of how the game is. As we said, a green sector 2, so we are on a personal best at the moment, and the delta on my steering wheel is green as we come across the line to set at 31-1. And now is when I think about maybe I can save my tires and ERS for the fastest lap, as I think I have enough of a gap to Helium to now I can chill out a little bit on this penultimate lap, just to try and go for the fastest lap on the final lap. It is a 30.4, so 7/10 faster than my current best, which is a 31-1, which it will not be easy, and as I do not have a lot of ERS, and my tires are also very, very old at this stage of the race, so I just need to try and manage not use a lot of my battery or tires. Now I use a little bit, just to tap it a little bit, and as you can see, Helium is gaining on me a small amount, but I'm not too concerned about it, because at this stage he can't really do much about it. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how this race has ended up going. I'm really happy with how consistent I was in this second stint. And there, the Aston Martin spins, and that almost made me spin, because I almost ended up throttle spiking myself, and that would have been so painful if I would have spun, but luckily I didn't, so it is what it is. And as I said, that distracted me. Helium gained a couple tenths on me just through that section alone. And now we start the final lap. We have 30% ERS as we exit the last corner. We set a 31.4, as I said, just managing tires slightly, just to go all out on this next lap. And let's see what we can do. We brake for turn 1, hit the apex quite nicely, and get a good exit using not a lot of the curb on the exit of turn 2, turn 2. And we use our battery. We only have about 6% remaining. Turn 4, very nicely taken. Just kissed the curb, and used the entry. I said a purple sector 1, sorry, as we use the exit curb quite nicely as well. We said purple sector 1, a little bit wide through this hairpin, but it is what it is. I can't do much about it. The tires are dying slightly. And this corner, a little compromised line I took, but I was able to open it up slightly to not cost me a lot of lap time. And here Helium makes a mistake, and it confirms the win basically. I gained half a second on him through that section alone, and I accidentally opened my radio panel, which is just, yeah, I don't know what I was doing. But anyway, flat out green sector 2, an 8.4, so I am up by 6/10 on my last lap, which is quite good, I'd say. But I don't know if I can get fastest lap. At the moment, that's not going to be enough for fastest lap. As we go across the final two corners, we round it, and we're going to win the first race of season 10 in IRC, and we set a 30.8, so we couldn't get the fastest lap, but I don't really care too much. It was just a bonus point. I couldn't be bothered. I just did one of my best tries probably I've ever done on this game, and just in league racing in total, and just, yeah, a very good result for me. No incidents, so the win is confirmed from my side, and yeah, just an incredible race that was. I can't believe I won it. It's as simple as that. I didn't have the pace to. I didn't think I had the pace through the second stint, but I was able to do just be more consistent than Helium. Helium definitely had the faster tires, but I was just able to pull that little bit of a margin and win the race. As that is going to do it for the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my first league racing video. It was a little bit long, but it was quite an eventful weekend, as I was just checking my consistency here. But thank you so much everyone for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will not be back for next week's race because I won't be able to attend it, but I will be there for the week after that, which is for round 3 at Mexico, and that is not going to be very fun being on controller. But anyway, thank you so much everyone for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Bye.